Hello, and welcome or welcome back to Read Becca. It's been a week, so we are once again here for a weekly chatty catch-up on everything I've read, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading, as well as some general lifey chit-chat. So this week I finished one book, and it took me a couple of weeks on audio, but I finished up Vicious by V.E. Schwab for my in-person book club. And this book is kind of a gritty superhero story. It feels very comic book-like. So it certainly is in the adult fantasy realm. We're following Victor and Eli as they are these two university students, and one of them declares his dissertation is going to be researching EOs, which are extraordinaries. And in this version of contemporary US, basically, EOs exist, but it's not like widely known for sure that they're real. It's clear that there's rumblings, that people are kind of aware there's something out there, but it's not common knowledge. They're not out in the open or anything. And so why anyone would take that on as a topic if it's not already factual, I don't know, but that's the way this goes. So you can probably tell by my tone and the way I'm talking about it. I really didn't like this. So for me, I think I wanted the science. I wanted to see them doing the research and the struggles and failures to get there. And pretty much immediately we jump to them trying something and it being successful. So of course they do end up with powers like that, obviously. But what happens very immediately, the first thing they try is that they have realized, without it being shown us on page, that near-death experiences are how people get powers. And so we're seeing this really horrific stuff play out where there's a lot of attempting to take their own lives, harming themselves, harming others. There is so much collateral damage to the process of seeking powers. And I think that's the point of the book, but the author kind of beats the reader over the head with it. It's so lacking in nuance and subtlety. At so many points I was just feeling like the author must think her readers are kind of either children or morons. I don't know if maybe this was intended for a young YA audience and then they realized that this is too dark and graphic for a YA audience and they just aged it up. I don't know, but yeah, it's full of really horrible things and sociopathic behavior while also feeling like, oh, look how edgy this is. Guys, come on, it's so edgy. And so it was very like rule of cool and comic book-esque, but I read comic books and I've seen so many stories that are kind of grappling with that, how much does power warp someone in comics in really smart ways that does not exist here. I've read one other thing by Schwab and kind of had the same problems with it really, that everything just doesn't hold together the moment you start to think about it really. So much about this it just falls apart. So in the book I read previously and this book, there's a child character, and that child is supposed to be like 12, but Schwab I don't think has ever met a 12-year-old. Like they're both written like 6-year-olds. You could absolutely have seen this character, like envisioned them wandering around with a blankie. They are so childish. There's not that sort of transition into teenage independence or just like being a human being rather than a tiny child. And yeah, I can understand the author trying to get across a sense of innocence in this child, and that's clearly the vibe that was gone for. But it's not true to any 12-year-old I've ever met. So regardless, so little realism to any aspect of this. Like, I wanted the science, it wasn't there. Everything was about a vibe and building to drama. I think probably the biggest thing that I had a problem with in the execution, it clearly is a choice, and it's a choice that has worked for a lot of readers, so I recognize I'm an outlier here. But there are very short chapters, and we are alternating between timelines from 10 years ago when they sort of started this journey to 10 years later, as things are kind of coming to a head. And as we're going back and forth, you can see that Schwab is writing to cliffhangers, to dramatic ends for about every 2 or 3 chapters, rather than choosing to just tell a compelling story. She's focused on just building the drama. And that doesn't work for me at all. I really didn't like that. I kind of hated it. And so for me, the characters were not really believable. One of the characters is motivated by revenge in everything he does. And that is just such a driving force of him. And the thing he wants revenge for is something he himself did. It makes no sense. Like, none of it stands up to anything. There's a point where, like, a bunch of the research that they have that we never saw, one of them wants to destroy it and just has all of it in the backpack. And the thesis advisor's like, no, you can't destroy it. This is very important research. It's like, the research is not anywhere other than on physical papers in this backpack. I find that 0% believable, and he makes it sound like a whole team has been working on this. Yes, I literally was laughing by the end because it just became so utterly ridiculous. Everything was over the top and just made me feel stupid a little bit. But I can see the entertainment factor to this, and that it has a very propulsive pace. But it was not for me, and I think I probably am not interested in trying much more of Schwab. Like, I'm a never say never type of person, so if something comes out that is super intriguing from the Schwab, I'll give it a shot. But like, I know I have A Darker Shade of Magic, but that one I don't think I have any interest in now. And Addie LaRue, I know I've already heard that the historical research is absolutely horrific on that one as well, so it's also just her writing for vibes rather than any sort of like realism. And it's fantasy, so that's fine, but I need some grounding, like some verisimilitude to my writing, and it's just not a priority in her choices, and that's fine for clearly the majority of readers who have loved her work, because she is absolutely viral across booktubes. So I think that's all I have to say about Vicious. And onward, a massive shift in tone, the stuff that I have in progress. First, I'm working on The Messiah Confrontation by Israel Noel, which is a nonfiction work for maybe Midrash, and I have Alan Payton's Cry the Beloved Country, which is a fiction work for, this one could be maybe Midrash. It does have an element of religion, but I'm going to count it for misery may. So those are what I have in progress. I also started Ocean's Gadori. I'm buddy reading that with Dia of Novel Idea. So we are in progress. We just started that a couple days ago. So onward to stuff I watched. I actually didn't finish watching anything this week. I've been watching a lot of like short things on YouTube, and so those things are just going. And I just haven't finished anything because I haven't been watching hardly anything other than what little booktube I have been watching, which has not been much. My week has been kind of exhausting. I think we are on an upward trend. I did kind of crash out Friday night a little bit energy-wise and went to bed very early, and that was good for me. And so I think we're on the upward trend now. I was hoping that was last week, and I think it's actually happening this weekend. So this week I made it out to the park a couple times because the weather was really nice. That was fantastic. And actually, when I was at the park one of the nights, I saw a guy with the cutest, absolute cutest corgi. But more importantly, he had on a t-shirt that had a cartoon of a corgi that looked exactly like his corgi, and it said Corgi Dad. And I was just like, yes, this is the positive masculinity vibe that we need. Guys who just love their dog so much, like that is so wholesome and great. Like, it just made me feel so positive. And it's such like a minor thing to have happen in my day. What else happened this week? So I got a new corner shelf, and I was thinking of Melinda the whole time because she has been desperate for her husband to get her a shelf, and here I can just go get a corner shelf and put it in. So my foster cat very much assisted with building it for sure. Really helpful. But you can't tell, I don't think, this bookshelf has been off center for a very long time because the opposite side across from me has two very tall, narrow Billy bookshelves that weren't there until 2021, I think. And then I got rid of my furniture in here, so I didn't have a couch between them. So I had them centered, but then kind of nothing orienting in the room otherwise. And so this was not centered based on the new locations of things. And so it's been completely off center for this whole time that I've been filming for BookTube. So now I had to move it like a foot. So this has actually been moved slightly. I had to take down a lot of stuff off of it and realign it. But so this has shifted about a foot so that my chair, my recliner that is right there, and Ripley is sitting in it, has space out for my new corner bookshelf. And that for now is not really a bookshelf. It's an other stuff shelf because I've had puzzles and coloring books and like activity stuff taking up bookshelf space, and so I wanted just a nice little corner bookshelf to do that stuff on because I don't have a ton of it, but to save myself the bookshelf space. So anyway, long ramble about the bookshelf. I'll make sure I put a picture in here of what it looks like. So it's in influx. I very temporarily set it up, and I'm not quite sure. The bottom one, I put all the cat toys. They're toy bin. So I might either not keep the cat toys there or use it for other stuff, or I may get a nicer container than a Rubbermaid tote to put stuff in for the cat toys for there. So yeah, I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Shelves are always exciting, boring but exciting. And then I think last thing, only other thing of note is that I did make it out this weekend to a relief drive for tornado victims in my area, because we had a EF3 tornado last week, and I mentioned it last week, but the area that was hit was very much in the city, very densely populated, and it seems now we're probably not going to get like federal assistance at all. Maybe? Who knows? So there have been a lot of efforts going to donate stuff to help out these people these poor people are just have nothing. It really demolished multiple neighborhoods. And so it wasn't any like big deal. It was just organizing stuff and moving stuff from people dropping off to be sorted. So yeah, I feel heartened that it's happening, but disheartened that kind of stuff has to happen, that it has to be such a ad hoc effort when there are supposed to be systems in place to help in this situation, and those systems unfortunately are failing. So anyway, I think that's all for my week. This is thankfully going to be a kind of quick one, I think, because I don't have a ton to catch up on, and I didn't like the book I read, so here we are. So I guess rounding out with my recommendations for the week, kind of relevant to what I was just saying in my experience this week. The two videos that I had to talk about, Hannah's Books did a great video discussing a personal experience with an Uber ride in Boston, and very specifically looking from a lens of what's going on currently and the experience of an immigrant who was driving her, and the empathy that she has for that situation right now. So not a bookish one, but from someone in the booktube community, definitely. And the other one was from Eyes on Indie, discussing a number of independent books that she has read and loved that are in jeopardy a bit because of grants, that federal US grants that were funding these publishers, that were enabling them to publish great books that now they're going to potentially lose their funding. And just heartbreaking and very directly impactful to the bookish space. So I think both of those videos are really, really worth watching, very timely and relevant, and important to check out. So with that, I think that is it for my week this week. Nice quick one. So I will leave you with that and say I hope you have a wonderful week in reading and in life, and thank you so very much for watching.